Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with All Things Barbecue, and today I'm cooking up a holiday brisket. It's no secret that brisket is a really fantastic holiday dish to do. And normally what we're doing when we do brisket is sort of a barbecue style brisket, but we're gonna switch that up a little bit today. We are still gonna be smoking our brisket on the smoker, but instead of going for a sweeter barbecue flavor profile, we're gonna be doing something a little more savory. And in fact, we're gonna incorporate some veggies into it at one point. It's gonna be really great. But what we're gonna start off with today is a whole packer brisket. This is a 15-pound brisket. I'm gonna trim it up, but I'm gonna keep that point and flat intact, and we're gonna cook it all together. As you can see, today we're working with a Creekstone Farms Master Chef Choice brisket, and I can tell you I've cooked enough briskets to know that the choice level stuff from Creekstone Farms is far better than what you're gonna get at the big box stores. So look them up, because if you can get your hands on one of these Creekstone Farms briskets, I promise you won't be disappointed. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is just get rid of any of that juice on the outside so this isn't too slippery. Just to kind of orientate yourself, what we've got here is our point sitting on top. Down here's the flat. This is where you usually get your slices. This is where we usually do burnt ends. And I'm gonna start from the fat cap side. You can see down here where the flat is. This is the point down here, and this is the separation between the two. And we're just gonna start trimming this up, get some of the excess fat off the outside. We are gonna leave a good bit of fat here on top of the flat, the leaner meat. I'm just gonna start up here. This is a hard wedge of fat in the side that we can kind of cut into. We don't need all this extra fat here while it's cooking. So we're gonna get rid of this wedge. All of this stuff would soften up a bit in the process, but it's pretty unnecessary to keep it around. Now with that wedge out of there, we can kind of lay this flat, which is good. We can get our knife flat so we can start to trim across the top of the point. And then what I'm gonna do here is work on cleaning up the point. I'm slicing just that top layer of fat off. Don't wanna get into the meat too much. The colder the brisket and the sharper your knife, the easier this is gonna be. Now if you're wondering why am I taking all the fat off of the surface here, well, the thing is here on the point, there's fat running all the way through here. You can see how thick these muscle strands are, and those strands of fat like that, they go right through the meat. So there's plenty of fat running throughout this muscle. And while I do like a little bit of a fat layer, maybe a 1/4 inch on top of my brisket, you'll typically want to do that down here on the flat side where these slices are a little bit more lean. All right, here's another section of really hard fat. This is gonna come off at one point or another, so we might as well get to it now. Get that big old chunk, not even a little bit of muscle in the middle of there, so we can get rid of that. All right, so you're starting to see the point pretty exposed up here at the top, which is great. And you notice I stop trimming when I get to about right here. That's because I can see that this point meat is starting to fall over the flat right here. In fact, if I cut down, this is all just that layer of fat in between those two muscles, and we'll start to see the flat meat come out right here. And like I said, I do like a little bit of fat on top of the flat, so I'm not gonna shave this all the way down to the muscle, but I am gonna clean it up a bit so that there's not an overwhelming amount of fat there. Try and clean up some of those sloppy cuts for presentation's sake. Now, if you're looking at this pile of scraps that you're trimming off of your brisket and you're thinking, man, I just paid 80 bucks for this thing and now what am I'm just throwing that money away. There's a couple of things to keep in mind. You're paying less for this brisket than you would pay for a trimmed one, right? So every time that a butcher touches this piece of meat, they charge more money for it. So you're already paying a lower price, which should make you feel a little bit better. Now, you can also keep in mind that a lot of this fat, it's fine for you to throw into your sausage grind. So freeze it. Next time you're making sausages, grind this stuff up. You can even put it into burgers if you like. You need a little extra fat content. So there are uses for this stuff. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about the top side of this thing. Point's exposed. Got a decent little fat layer on top of the flat. So let's flip this over and clean up the bottom side and the edges. All right, so you'll see right here we've got some like gray meat. It's probably hit some steam or something like that. Is it gonna hurt you to eat it? Probably not, but it doesn't look very nice, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it off. And that looks much better. Now back here we've got this massive hunk of hard fat. So I'm gonna trim that down a bit. A little bit more of that gray meat back here, so we'll just trim just the top layer of that off. And then this surface fat I'm gonna take off as well. All right, now is it necessary to get all this stuff off of here? Probably not. You could spend all day doing this, but you gotta draw the line somewhere, right? I just figure if you're working on a big piece of meat that you spend a good amount of money on, you might as well do it right. Well, now that the brisket's all cleaned up, I want to take this opportunity to add a little bit of extra flavor to fortify the beefiness of this cut, and we're going to do that with an injection. Now this is a really simple injection. This is the Butcher's Barbecue Prime Dust, and it's essentially just powdered beef stock. So what you get is beef flavor. It doesn't offer anything that isn't already there, but it really fortifies that flavor, and it gives you a little bit extra moisture in the leaner part, and that's in the flat. We're not gonna be injecting the point, we're just going to inject the flat. We're mixing the prime dust with some vegetable stock. I got about 2 cups here, which is probably gonna be more than I need, but that's all right. And we're gonna mix a 1/2 cup or 2 scoops of the prime dust. I essentially just want to work my way into the flat here, create a little pocket, add some of that injection, and then move on over. I'm going to work in a grid pattern so that I can make sure that I get the entire muscle covered. And there's no getting around it. Some of it's going to come back out. Not a big deal, because plenty of it's staying in there as well. Now that excess moisture, the extra injection, I'm just gonna rub around the surface. This is going to allow our rub to attach to the meat. And the rub we're using is the Cattleman's Grill Tri-Tip seasoning. This is just a great savory rub, right? It's got salt, pepper, garlic. It's got some red bell pepper in it. And we're going for a savory flavor profile on our holiday brisket. So this is gonna work perfectly. This is a big hunk of meat with a lot of meat that's not exposed at the surface, so we can be pretty liberal with our seasoning. All right, let's flip this over and get the other side as well. And we'll take just a little bit more of that injection to rub across the surface. You know, it's like 20 degrees outside right now. My hands are freezing. There's no reason why this should be so aromatic without heat, except that it's a really fresh rub, and that's one of the reasons I love working with these small batch rub companies. These artisan companies are doing stuff on small batch level, and they're getting their spices and stuff fresh. Now, it's a lot of fun to make your own rubs and spices at home, but when you're working with something like this, it's coming straight from the packer. Whereas when you make your own at home, you gotta go to the grocery store, buy those spices. You don't know how long they sat on that shelf. Might be a year, right? Everything here is incredibly fresh, and it's going to affect the end product. We're smoking our brisket on the Yoder Smokers YS640 pellet grill. I'm running a combination of pecan and cherry pellets today. Cherry for the color, pecan because it's a really nice nutty flavor, and it also is just a pretty solid smoke profile. It's something that you're never gonna get sick of. We're running that temperature at 250 right now. That's where we're gonna start out. We are gonna crank it up a little bit later, but for now, so that that brisket can soak up plenty of smoke, we're running it at 250 degrees. All right, so dead center on the top rack is a perfect place for this. Smoke's gonna move right over it and out the stack. We should get some nice color and plenty of good smoke flavor on here. Now I'm not even gonna open the door to look at the brisket for at least 4 hours. I'm just gonna let the smoker work its magic. So this is about 5 hours, actually 5.5 hours in now. See, we're getting some really nice color on the outside. These pockets of fat that are forming. This is all looking really good. I love the color. So we're getting to the point now where we could wrap this thing up to really finish out the process. Now I'm gonna do something a little bit different this time. A lot of times when we wrap, we'll put a little bit of extra braising liquid or something like that in there, but we're actually gonna put a bed of vegetables underneath the brisket. And as this thing cooks and the juices kind of come out of the brisket, those veggies, those herbs and stuff are going to flavor that jus, and then we'll have some roasted veggies to go along with the brisket. So I've got 1.5 pounds of fingerling potatoes, a pound of carrots, a nice big yellow onion, some garlic, and then we're gonna throw some rosemary, some thyme, and a bay leaf in there as well. And I'm gonna dice these into fairly large pieces so that they don't just turn into mush in the wrap. I'm gonna cut these potatoes down a little bit too, roughly like 1-inch pieces. For the yellow onion, we're gonna do a large dice on this as well. Before I pull that brisket off, to put it in the wrap, I'm going to first lay down our foil and get a bed of veggies down that we can set the brisket on top of. And this is a big hunk of meat, so you're gonna want a lot of foil and enough veggies that the brisket can sit right on top. And then we'll lay out our fresh herbs as well. And our bay leaf. All right, now no oil, no salt, no seasoning on these veggies because we've got salt coming off of this rub, right? We're gonna have lots of liquid, we're gonna have fat. So for now, we're leaving the veggies unseasoned. That way we don't accidentally over salt them. We can always taste them at the end and see if they need anything extra. There's just one more thing I wanna add to this before we get it wrapped up, and that's a little bit of braising liquid. All right, we're gonna start with Shiraz wine, a red wine. And we're going back to the marinade shaker here because we're gonna use some more of our prime dust. We'll do just a cup of red wine to a 1/4 cup of prime dust. I'm gonna get a quick taste of this. Ooh, that's gonna work really nicely. And this we can just pour right over the top. As this gets wrapped up tightly, it's gonna work its way around the meat as these liquids braise the meat. All right, now I'm gonna wrap this up just as tight as I can. You're definitely gonna want 2 sheets of foil for this. We'll rotate it so we make sure we get coverage all the way around. All right, the tighter we get this, the better our bark is in the end. We don't want to leave much room for steam to get rid of that bark that we've created. But this is ready to go back on the pit now at 325 this time, so we can expedite the process and eat some brisket. Now we got a little more vertical going on after we added those veggies underneath, so this is gonna need to go on the main cooking grate now. So I'm just gonna slide this second shelf out. And slide our brisket right over here. Now with a higher temperature and the closer proximity to the diffuser plate, you're gonna get a little bit more radiant heat. But remember, we've got veggies down there and a fat cap that's going to make a nice thermal barrier so the brisket doesn't get overdone on the bottom. Now going back onto the pit now, wrapped up, we're about 7 hours into this process. And I tell you that just for reference. That's not gonna be the same every single time. When it came to wrapping the actual brisket, all I'm looking for is a color, the color that I like. I'm not checking to see what the internal temperature is. I'm not looking at a clock. It's really about feeling it out. How do you like the color? How dark do you want it? All right, so where do we go from here? I mean, obviously this needs some more time to break down. The internal temperature is going to be over 200 degrees when it's done. But again, we're not cooking to a temperature, we're not cooking to a time. So I'm gonna come back in about an hour and probe it with our thermometer just to check the resistance. The way we're gonna know when this thing is done is when there's very, very little resistance when probed. It's gonna feel like butter. We're about 9.5 hours into this cook now, and the brisket is probing super tender. So I wanna bring you guys in and show you what we're talking about. Look at that, thing of beauty. Now if we go in here, you can see how that just slides in without any resistance. Even down here in the flat, which is a bit more lean. And if we take a temperature reading, 208, 207, right in that range. Down here on the bottom, you can see our veggies are super tender, but not mush yet. So perfect timing. Let's take this thing off and let it rest. Now we essentially have three components. We have the brisket, we have the jus, and we have the veggies. And I'm gonna separate all of them now, that way we can heat up the jus as we need to, we can hold the veggies warm, and we can rest the brisket and get ready to slice it here in about half an hour. And before I strain this off, I'm gonna pick out these herbs. And I'm just gonna wrap these up to keep them warm. And our jus is here ready for the slices so that we can warm those up when we're ready to eat. All right guys, moment of truth. This brisket's been resting for about 30 to 45 minutes. Let's slice into this thing and see how we did. Now as always with brisket, you wanna slice across the grain, and to help you figure out where that is, you're gonna wanna flip it over, right? Because we got a little bit of fat on the top here. So check that out. The strands are running that way. Obviously this is super tender. So we're gonna go at 90 degrees to that. Just check out all the moisture on the inside of this thing. It's just dripping. I mean, that is everything you want out of a piece of brisket. Now down here at the point end, this point's what's sitting on top, right? You can see that the muscles run in a slightly different direction. Let's just slice into this and see what it looks like right in the middle of there. Oh my gosh, just dripping with juices. Still getting some of that fat. And one of those cubes is just barely holding it together. The only thing that can make that a little bit better is a dip in that jus. Look at that color. Nice dark brown color on the jus. That jus makes it. You gotta get your brisket slices smothered in that stuff. It's smoky for all that time that this brisket spent soaking up that smoke, and it's savory and delicious, and it's got just a little bit of fat that kind of coats your mouth. So you can build yourself a pretty nice platter, some really great servings right here. You got your fatty meat in the back there. Let's get some of that lean meat spread out in the front. And just a drizzle of that jus. The slightest bit of tug to come apart. Flavor's spot on. Getting all kinds of garlic and pepper out of that. I love it. It's perfect. It's savory. It's not barbecue sweet. This is exactly what I want to eat at Christmas dinner. Pour me a glass of red wine. Give me some of those roasted vegetables. It's smoky, it's savory, it's delicious. It's everything I'm looking for. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, and be sure to check out atbbq.com for the products featured in the video. If you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, I'd love to hear from you in the comment section down below. And hey, let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to thesauce.atbbq.com. And happy holidays from myself and the rest of the crew here at All Things Barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.